You are watching CIO TV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Balaka, and I am a consulting editor with Enterprise IT World. With me is an esteemed panel, as you can see. This is Mr. Timothy. He is from Leixir group. This is Mr. Naresh Pathak, and we have with us Shashank Jain. So without much ado, let's get started. Data, as we know, is the new oil. This is very cliched, but data is the foundation of business. In fact, as they say, data is the driving force in every decision making, whether it is for business strategy, commercial decisions, operationalizing processes. It's everywhere. Yet, I was reading up and I found one MIT research saying that only 5% of the data is actually being used in decision making. So a large part of the data is actually not being leveraged. And this is manifest in various things in day-to-day business, such as, when you ask, when the sales team doesn't trust the data that comes from marketing, or there are instances largely when the leadership asks the team to validate the data, or large number of time the finance team is sitting and reconciling data. So these are instances where the data strategy has actually not worked. Or it could also be, the data is not comprehensive, or the quality of data is not good. So let's hear it from data practitioners themselves, how how to get this data strategy right. So my first question is Timothy. So how does one go about defining a good data strategy that is aligned to business requirements?
Good evening, everybody. So we all play with the data, right? So whatever I'm going to say might not be new to everybody. But thing is, maybe we go ponder about it and how we want to do about it. So I have jotted down a couple of points where I wanted to let you guys know. So for all business success, data plays a very pivotal role in driving innovation and competitive edge. So there are a couple of things we need to take a look at it. It's, for example, how we balance the offense and defense. So this offense and defense plays a crucial role in any M&A. For example, in mergers and acquisitions, this helps them. For example, in our company, where it is basically a dental, we are the fourth largest dental group out in the US, and the offense and defense has definitely played for us a good in a very positive manner. In the last 3 years, we have acquired businesses and we have grown just because we had the right defense and offense. For example, when I say offense is minimizing the risks and ensuring compliances with the regulations. That is one of the things. I mean, even probably the previous presentations, what was presented, they were more on the laws. So the regulations which comes into picture and how we detect the frauds. On the offense part of it is how we support the business and increase the revenue. Maybe how do we get more profit into it and more of a customer satisfaction. So these are the ones which define the company for most of the M&As. The second thing is which Balaka just a few minutes before she said, half of the structured data is actively used for decision making, and less than 1% of the unstructured data is analyzed. So this is the current statistics which is present out there. And the other thing is we are more prone to data breaches, rogue data, and inadequate data technology. And the other couple of things which I wanted to put it up is do we have the improved processes? That is one of the most important thing, to have a right data strategy. That is how I would say, and which will help us for improved competition position, and also improved products. For example, in dental, everybody knows there's implants. In implants, the products have improved in the last 3-4 years. When I say 3-4 years, the technology, how it has been put up in an implant, it's gone for a painless also. So, and the last but not the least is how we unlock the data potential, and how we prioritize conversations, find common grounds, and also establish shared priorities. So these are the things which will ensure that we have a business which is successful when we have the right set of data and how we use it.
Yes. So, having a right data strategy also offers businesses the flexibility in terms of having, any business decision making. So, in your case, you referred to M&A, which is a very important, a business tool organizations use to ramp up fast. And when the data strategy is not in place, M&As actually don't deliver, and many M&As have failed. Yes. Okay, so we come to the next part of the question, which is after having defined how to have a good data strategy, how do we roll out a good data architecture, and what are the, how do we have a flexible and a scalable data strategy? So, Mr. Shashank, you are a veteran in the industry with more than 40 years of exposure. So you have seen how technology has evolved and grown, and you have seen how data has been used variously. So could you share some perspectives as to, how does one build a scalable, flexible, and a future-proof data strategy?
Thank you very much. Am I audible? Am I audible? Yeah. So thank you. Good evening. I am Shashank. Actually, I comes from the financial sector. So we are using large chunk of data, which is more than 1 petabyte. Half of my data is structured, which is coming from the SAP ERP system, and rest of the data is unstructured, which is coming from the big data and Hadoop systems. So in one word, if I want to say, cloud is the key to data adoption and scalability. It gives you the power of scale up, scale down, and elasticity, as well as the cost optimization as compared to the on-prem and cloud. Cloud also gives you the security which is not available on-prem, and it is also give you the liberty to work from anywhere, anytime, anywhere. So we are using a lot of more than 1 petabyte of data, and we have created that data as a data lake for mining of data using ETL kind of tools, for defining the dashboards and other things, from real-time uses for the top management. So this gives us some power to churn out the data, which is very meaningful for day-to-day decision and business optimization. Balaka?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you. So that was insightful in terms of why we need a scalable thing and data architecture. So cloud definitely is infinitely scalable, and the rest of the things in terms of having a very secure environment, because you can automate data management and you can automate security and compliance. Yes. So cloud definitely is the right way to go in terms of it. Now let me ask the next question to Mr. Naresh. So what are some of the best practices in terms of data collection, data storage, and in terms of data retrieval?
Yeah, namaste everyone. See, the most important piece before even we start data collection, storage and retrieval piece is forming a strategy for the data governance. Because until unless you have something documented related to the data, whatever you have in your environment, it is practically not possible that how you are really collecting the data, where you are putting up and how you're going to retrieve it. So the documentation of whatever the sources you have, you need to bring in a kind of single source of truth. That is very much important, which indicates that the documentation is important. We used to talk that data is the new gold and all that, but data is everything. We all know that. What missing is, taking everybody, all the stakeholders together, understanding, making them aware about the importance of the data and how that can really benefit it. If they ensure that the data is really being, controlled and put in a kind of, the centralized environment. Yeah. So first we need to have a documentation, that data governance that has to be there, and then make people aware about the benefit of, that the action which you are taking in terms of that where you're keeping it, and then whenever you need it, how quick you can retrieve it. So these things are important, in all these three aspects.
Could you elaborate a little bit more about, say, retrieval approaches or storage best practices, and how do you?
Yeah. So when you say storage best practices, is as I say that you need to have a centralized one, like when we create, today we talk about data lake.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is missing? The people usually ignore that the people, which is the data is there with the people.
Yes.
Because that's a significant, I'll say the part of the overall data governance.
Yes.
So first we need to ensure that all the data is brought into the single centralized location.
Yes.
With respect to all the sources. Yeah. So that has to be there, and that comes from the approach where all the, like what I have seen, what I have practiced is, we meet at small committees, for these from all the departments, and ensure that there's a one person who is responsible, to ensure that the data is being put to the right place, what has been defined as per the strategy, and that has been updated, and ensure that the somebody is really reviewing it on the regular basis. Yeah. So those things really help a lot, although this looks sometimes very simple, but when you go to execute it, it needs a lot of efforts. To sit among, among the users and discuss with them, understand their pain areas, and then you can really put into the right place.
Thank you. So let me ask Timothy the next question. How can organizations ensure data security and data protection? And how can you, what are the things that you can rigorously implement to safeguard data protection?
So when we started this event today evening, so a couple of points like what Rohit Das presented out. So I don't know, like whenever I do this, when I'm part of this any panel, most of the people who come and present, they always present a couple of things. But saying that, I would like to reiterate, and this is more to ponder again, what I'm trying to say. We have been doing several of these things in our organization or day-to-day activities, but we need to do, and we need to ensure that, we do it more rigorously. So so for example, how do we protect do we have a proper data protection strategy? That's the first question we need to ask. So where it focuses on data security, data availability, and the access control. So yes, we do take care of that, but how effectively we go inside that? So that is the first thing. Second thing is yes, by default we secure our IT organization. Yes, by default, we secure our firewalls, VPNs, endpoints, name it. We have the best AV, XDR, whatever name it, we have everything. So that helps us to secure. The third thing is yes, we do have regular audits, but are we doing the audits for namesake? Most of the organization, yes, okay, we are compliant, ISO or or name it, we are compliant on GDPR. But are we doing it for namesake, or are we doing it to ensure that we are doing it to ensure that we hold the right data with us, so it is protected and it has the right access also. And data by default, and I mean, some of the organizations have seen like, it is accessible everybody. Maybe like, a data which is supposed to be only accessible to the sales and marketing, but it is available to anybody who can go inside a shared drive and they can access the data. So are we giving the right data to the right people? So, and then how are we monitoring the systems? Like, I mean, yes, we do have monitoring, probably like, we have a SOC who's sitting and monitoring our system, but how effectively are we monitoring it? So, and the other thing is like, data resiliency. So we do encrypt sensitive data and we ensure it. But again, I don't know, most of the organizations have like, on the email itself, like, we have confidential, private, public. Are we really using it? I mean, the labels, are we really using it? But but the last thing, employee training. If we are not doing a proper employee training, whatever we do, let's say we have the best of the monitoring tools, like we have the best of the systems, nothing is going to help unless we do the right training to the employee. So these are the basic things like, we definitely need to follow.
Right. So basically you're saying we should have a security by design approach where it's not like, just the data we are looking at. We are looking at security in terms of, having security at every layer, and as we progress, it should be secure. We have to think security first before we go into do anything in data. So, Mr. Shashank, you have worked in various organizations, and you are now working in an industry that is very data intensive. So what kind of governance framework is required, and how can organizations implement a best practice? What are the basic tenets of a good governance structure? If you could elaborate a little bit more on that.
A great question.
Yeah.
Since we are handling a large chunk of data,
Yeah.
and financial sector is the most regulated and most attacked sector
Yes.
around the world also, after healthcare. So we are the most regulated sector also as per the guidelines of RBI and SEBI. So we need to be all 24/7 alert on data safety and security. Well, we have done number of measures to save our critical data.
Yes.
First of all, like we have implemented zero trust. Zero trust is the key. You know everyone, but at the same time you don't know anyone also. So identity and access management gives you to the power to secure access. Who can access your data and who can do any as per their roles and responsibility. Second thing is we have encrypted the critical enterprise data. So there are multi-factor encryptions are there at the enterprise data. And third thing is it's related to the training, because data safety is not the only IT related things. IT is only the custodian of the data. But it is a joint responsibility of the business also. It's everyone's responsibility who can do and how to safeguard the business interest. And the last thing is training and day-to-day compliances, as well as the surprise element. You should not be surprised how many times the data has been compromised. And so one should be working on the predictive mode, not on the reactive mode. So we do a lot of things to safeguard our data, and we put most of the things on cloud for DR and backups, and RTO or RPOs are also there in place to get the data business continuity plan and the compliances as per the RBI and SEBI guidelines. So number of steps we have taken to safeguard our data, because every time the guidelines change time to time from RBI and SEBI, who are the regulators also. So these are the simple steps we have taken to business continuity plan plus the data governance.
So you spoke basically about data governance from the security perspective. I'm also interested in knowing, governance framework from the point of view of data management, in terms of, how you source the data, how you store the data, what is the quality of data. Could you throw some more light on that?
So data storage is normal as most of the enterprises are doing some in tables on some on the databases. But most of the data is our enterprise data is encrypted, and like we have allowed who can do. There's a roles and responsibilities already defined, and workflow has been defined to what kind of data is visible and what kind of data is encrypted. So based on their roles, responsibility, and day-to-day work. So data storage has been done into the different silos also.
Yes.
So all the data is not into one single place, because in case your storage is full, so everything will be gone. So data is scattered into different servers, different storage, whether on-prem or on cloud also, and it has been replicated from time to time as per the business needs also. So that is the simple strategy we have done. And time to time we do the audit and other things, because data is the key, data is the oil to run any of the business. So these are the simple steps I think every entity, business entity is doing nowadays. Compliances and storage, encryption, these things.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So, Naresh, my question goes to you now. So, I mean, you may have all the systems and processes in place and all the technologies, but if there is no adoption, you know, I mean, everything falls flat. Especially when it comes to a data strategy, there has to be adoption across the organization. You know, business users must adopt data and have they have to think in terms of data. So what kind of, best practices, or how does one boost data adoption in an organization?
Yeah. So the adoption piece comes, how you are planning and presenting that their day-to-day requirement, because
Yes.
data is there, in a different sources,
Yeah.
but the requirement is where the tools which you are using it.
Yeah.
So you understand that what is their day-to-day the need,
Yes.
and then accordingly you deploy that. For example, here somebody is using, analytics tools. There are multiple, people can choose it. But until unless you really tell them
Yes.
that this is how this will solve your ongoing problem,
Yes.
then only understanding that issue area, they will adopt it.
Yes.
By deploying any tool and giving them kind of, the reports or dashboards, whatever they needed, that'll not help. You have to sit with them, okay, and let them feel,
Yes.
what they are getting out of, the data they have, from the different tools.
Right.
So the strategy for what tool you are going to deploy, how they are going to use it, what benefit they can get it. On the basis of that, you can really roll it out. So you have to give them POCs. This is must, for whatever, the requirement they have and you are putting up. That's one. Second is you have to then hand holding. The hand holding is must, I will say. Without that, the adoption will not go up.
Yes.
And then regular training. It's not that once you have given them, even everything is fine, but then the training has to be there on the regular basis, and then the review has to be there. You have to spend time directly with the end users, with all the stakeholders. Then this will ensure that the adoption rate will definitely increase.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, one must have the buy-in of the leadership and possibly, business heads,
Right.
so that adoption percolates to everyone.
And even leader has to spend time with them. You have to sit with them.
Yes.
You cannot just depend upon the the down the line, second line and all.
Yes, yes. Shashank, would you like to share some insights in adoption best practices?
Best practices is like it's nowadays compulsory and mandatory also. Like whatever we are doing, it should be sustainable and measurable also.
Yeah.
And after the DPDP Act has come into the force, it is
Yes.
everyone's responsibility to safeguard the data and
Yeah.
safeguard the business interest. Not only for the financial point of view, it is only the best point of reputation also.
Yes.
Because last time we have heard the case of Paytm also. So there are some leakages also. So that is
Yes.
the thing you should time to time audit. You should not have a surprise element on your strategy, because hackers can do anything, because they run 2 steps further on advance.
Yes. Yeah.
So you should have a better data strategy and audit plus training, and everyone should be on the same page to have some kind of responsibility to handle large chunk of things, and should be covered through the IT strategy and audit point of view. So these are the simple steps, like anyone can safeguard and run the business as per the business continuity plan.
Yeah, thank you, Shashank. Timothy, let me just ask you, from your experience, what according to you has been the most challenging aspect in implementing a data strategy?
To start with, as Shashank ji said, from next to BFSI, the healthcare is the most targeted industry. I mean, in fact, the number of spam emails which comes into our system.
Yes.
The number of network hacks which happens.
Yeah.
In fact, our phones are itself a biggest enemy inside the organization.
Yes, right.
In fact, we don't want, during the COVID, we asked people to bring your own device.
Yes.
But that has also created one set of challenges inside the organization.
Yeah.
What happens is they work at home, and now most of the companies have started to ask them to, at least work for 3 days in office. So 2 days at home. So 2 days at home is an unsecured network.
Yes.
And the third day when they come to office, when they plug in their laptop into the network, God knows what. So that is one of the biggest pain areas for, basically for the organization as well also for the entire IT fraternity. The second biggest challenge is AI. We love to use AI. We have to adopt AI. There is no other go. Probably in the next 5-10 years, yes, we have to be on top of it. Otherwise, we lose. We are out of the game. Mm-hmm. Okay. So many of our people in the senior organization use ChatGPT, use Copilot. But as in the previous panelist itself, they said whatever data what we put inside, it is inside. It goes to the entire world, and today the hackers, they use that data to come back to us. So I don't know how many of you are interested in the gaming world. Some of the games, if you see, it is on how to go and attack. It's nothing great. How to go and attack, and they teach the children how to attack the other.
It's easier to reach than to protect.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when they grow, that is what sits in their mind also. Right. So these are some of the basic challenges as an organization, and of course in healthcare, in the last 2 years alone, the fine was approximately almost 50 to 60 billion. It's not small. If one PHI or one PHI leak is minimum, it's all of 4 figure. And in US, people are ready to file a case just like that. So from the IT fraternity, it is always our eyes, heart, mind open to say that our system should not be hacked, even though we have the best of the systems in any organizations.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of this discussion. We had a very comprehensive discussion covering how to have a good data strategy, how to have a good governance framework, and what are the major challenges, and security and compliance certainly stands out. It always has been, and I think in terms of having a good data strategy, this is a basic requirement, and that continues to be a major challenge. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Mr. Naresh, and thank you, Mr. Shashank. Thank you, everyone.